Emily, I guess this was very clear, wasn't it? This was the clear dividing line, the economy on a really disastrous day for the British economy. Who came out on top?
It really was. You know, I wish that I could have been watching the Dan Wootton show instead, because that really was like watching paint dry. You know, if I wasn't coming on to do my job on this channel, I would have had to have turned it off.
I am sorry for putting you through the pain, Emily, and I hope no one else bothered, let me tell you that.
I think your ratings probably took a bounce, actually, rather than a hit during that, because it really was very dull, because it was the same old, and we've had this terrible news, predictions, models, whatever, from the Bank of England today, facing recession, potentially till the end of 2023, till the end of next year. It's not looking good. Yes, the big dividing line is between Rishi Sunak, who says we need to grapple with inflation before tax cuts come. Liz Truss is saying that we can cut taxes now and go for growth. Now, Rishi Sunak, I would take him more seriously if he actually had a plan for getting inflation down, because all he seems to be saying is that we can't cut taxes. But let's look at the Bank of England. He's hardly held them to account for keeping inflation low. So I'm not convinced by what his plan is of action. It just seems he wants to say no in order to present himself as the steady hand. You know, he doesn't have a track record of success when it comes to the economy. Of course, he was the Chancellor throughout the pandemic, which was a difficult job. But it's that same old argument. Do we cut taxes now or not?
Madeline Grant, did you see any sort of a plan from Sunak?
Not really, but I wouldn't say that I had seen much of a plan from Liz Truss either. I mean, as Emily said, when presented with the latest apocalyptic forecasting from the Bank of England, Liz Truss very much reverted to policy suggestions that we'd already heard, sound bites, you can't tax your way to prosperity, etc. But actually, a lot of the things that she's promising to do are simply continuations of current government policy. I mean, it was an interesting debate. I mean, yes, perhaps at this stage it is getting a little bit stale, but the outcome was quite surprising. I watched it and I would have said that Rishi performed marginally better, but actually the Sky audience gave him a really big margin there. And another interesting thing that I heard during the debate was the news that actually out of everyone in the audience, who were predominantly, I think, exclusively Tory members, only one person said that he had received his ballot papers so far. And this is because there had been some kind of security breach in CCHQ, I think. And so we had kind of assumed that everyone had received their ballot papers, that this was something of a fait accompli. But actually, I think when you're dealing with a group of quite a small electorate of, comparatively small electorate of 150,000 to 200,000 Tory members, actually a small swing can make quite a decisive difference. And so I think that
so it ain't over yet.
Not kind of deal that people had expected.
No, I mean, I took a look, by the way. Obviously, I had one eye on the brilliant Mark Stein, one eye on Kay Burley during the 8 o'clock hour. Weirdly, I'm with Emily. I thought it was the dullest thing I've ever seen. But the best moment was actually this bust-up that happened between the audience members. What?
The press release didn't say that. It said that it would be, in order to reach the 8.8 billion in savings, that it would be expanded out beyond civil service, beyond the civil service itself. So that's a mistake. Will you apologise? Because it was actually quite offensive.
I hate this apologise, for everything that you might have said. I just don't understand it. The opposition are always asking other politicians to apologise for what they may or may not have done, and it really doesn't sit well with me.
When somebody's asking for your vote, you don't expect to be offended?
Well,
simple as that.
What's that supposed to mean?
But
I won't intrude on this.
My point was, you shouldn't have done.
We are going.
Emily, I really enjoyed that, but I have to say, I'm with the bloke in the lovely cream blazer, because I hate this culture of say sorry, say sorry, say sorry. It doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, I think I'm with the older chap there too. I think a lot of Conservative members are sick of the say sorry every time you actually say something you believe in. And I do think that this particular policy proposal, it's very frustrating that she didn't just stick by it, because many economists have been talking about how pay should be decided more regionally, depending on where you live. You know, if you work at KPMG Bristol, you're unlikely to get paid as much as if you're working in KPMG Canary Wharf. And it should be decided on a more regional basis, in my opinion. It was perhaps silly of her, foolish of her, perhaps, to have released such a controversial policy at that time when she was miles ahead in the polls. But I would like to see our politicians stick to their word a little more.